Hi, it's Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, bringing you another video on Ike Stuff I Like. This time it's a quadruple die obverse or triple die obverse, depending on one's perspective and the quality of the coin, the die state of the coin, basically. So this was one I was clearing off my desk just recently, and I had put a little label on it with this one has quadrupling. So I thought that I would share it and talk a little bit about doubling, double dies and triple dies, quadruple dies, obverses and reverses in the Ike series. So um, Eisenhower dollars worked a lot like many other modern coins at that time in the 70s. And this is 1971, um, where you created a master die, and from the master die you created a number of working hubs, and usually that was a double hubbing process, meaning it was essentially pressed twice. Um, and then for each working hub, there were multiple working dies, so that you one working hub might be responsible for 7 or 8 working dies, and then each die may have produced, depending on whether it's a proof coin or a business strike coin, 100,000 obverses for a business strike coin, and maybe 1,000 obverses for a proof. This is again 1971. Well, when you are doing a double hubbing process, that's how you get doubling. So you can get it. A scenario where the classic is okay. You hub this working hub, and you get a single character, singling in the devices, which is a very faithful reproduction of what was on the master die. And then you go and do a double from, say, this working hub over here. You do a double hubbing to create a working die, so you're squeezing it twice. So this time maybe you got it perfect. Time you got it perfect. This time you got it perfect. This time you got a little, whether it's distorted or rotated, etc. There's a number of different doubling characteristics or types. You get a doubling of the devices. And so this is normally a double die is a very collectible item, particularly when they're widely separated. So there's a robust doubling, and there are very few of these coins, meaning it probably came from a single die which was doubled in the hubbing process for the working die, creating a double die. And usually for Ikes, the wider the better. Example, the FS 801 double die reverse, which I've shown pictures of here. I'll show it again at some point in time. They're beautiful reverse, double die reverse. But in the Ike series, there's some issues. One, remember you squeeze this twice. There's a double hubbing. You hubbed it twice, and so you could get doubling on the working hub. So let's say this working hub over here, all these came out perfect except for this one. The working hub got doubled. And so let's say it's not very robust. It's just a minor little shift. So you can see a little notching, but it's nothing really widely separated. Now that working hub is going to be transmitted that image, those devices are going to be transmitted to the working dies. But remember, these are getting hubbed twice. So you may have a scenario where you get a faithful hubbing on this working die from this working hub, but it still comes out looking doubled with a very, very small, separation, uh, a small, very minor doubling, so to speak. But let's say you, in the two hubbing processes for this working die, you got shifts. So you had this particular character get shifted over, and there's some overlap. So you might get what looks like tripling, but really it's doubling of doubling. So it's doubling of this doubling, but there's a little overlap, so you can't discern that it's quadrupled. You can just see that it's tripled. Nevertheless, you know this is a double die obverse displaying tripling because of the upline doubling on the working hub. You can even get, and there's some good examples of this, of quadrupling, where you get doubling of this doubling without any overlap or minimal overlap, and you can actually see quadrupling. So I wanted to preface that, and that's very simplistic because we could get into much more complex, where there's some annealing process between hubbings, and so you might have the fit might be not quite the same, or in the Ike series, and this is not after this is after 71. Sometimes they promoted working dies up and made working hubs off of them in subsequent years. So you'll see one family or one pattern that appears in one year, but then you see the same thing the next year, because, and this is documented in Mint records, where dies were promoted to the next year. We'll stay away from that, keep it very simplistic here. And I do that as a preface to show you the coin that I want to show you. So you can see here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 notches here. And depending on the device, you might see more tripling, or you might actually see quadrupling for this particular quadruple die obverse. Now, this particular coin that I have is a later die state. How do I know that? Well, it's a peg leg R, 1971 peg leg R proof. Remember, almost half of 1971 S proofs had peg legs, but this one's faded. That's because they would take the coin, the die out of production, and they'd repolish it and then sandblast it to get the cameo effect. And with those die treatments, you eventually get some loss of some of the devices. For example, this peg leg became further, it became more faded, what's called the faded peg leg. Normally, in a early die stage of a proof 1971 Ike die, the tip of the W and the tip of the E, they actually touch. They touch. There's no separation. But with die polishing and retreatments, it sort of raises the fields up because of the retreatments, and you lose that touching here. So keep that in mind, because this is a die that had quadrupling, but with multiple coin production. And, you know, again, a 1971 S obverse die lasted about 1,000 coins. So this had how many? 500, 700 that were already produced, and then they brought it out, they did the retreatment, and this is the current dye stages later. So you lose some of the sharpness of that quadrupling, and it's easier to see sometimes tripling than the quadrupling. But if you look really closely under loops, and I tried to capture it a few times here on images, you'll see the quadrupling. Look it up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up here, it's harder to see here, but almost you can. This has a little. The light is sort of blinding this one, or preventing you from seeing it. But 4 with a larger gap in here. But let's take a look at some of them. This has tripling and quadrupling in the motto, in the date, and up in Liberty. So it's pretty widespread in the obverse devices. So here's the I. You can see some multiple notching here. You can actually see 1, 2, 3, a little light, and 4 here. This one is wider, so is like a double, hub double, but then it was more widely separated in the second, the second hubbing. So you got hub doubled, but they're separated out in the creation of that working die. Over here, you see it. Here's a closer view of the N. Boom, boom, boom. You can see tripling easy here, but 1, 2, 3, 4 with a bigger notch right here. Same thing here, a bigger notch here. We can see 2 on this side and 2 on this side. Here's the O, the G. You can actually see, well, this has a little mark here in the fields, which you can see it better here, where there's actually 1, 2, a little wider spread than 3, 4. Regardless, whether you're seeing tripling or quadrupling, look up here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is a true quote unquote double die, and it's not a doubling purely from an upline working hub doubling. So this is the complexity of double dies in the Ike series. You have upline hub doubling, and then that gets doubled, and you can create tripling and quadrupling at the working die. Here's the W, and you can see 1, 2, wider spread, 3, 4. Less so in the E, although you can see it here in some of the, if you took loops on, you can see wider gap here. There's a doubling. That's from working hub, and then in the process of creating the working die, that doubled working hub doubled up again, and you have quadrupling. Here's a close-up of the W. Look up here, you can sort of see 1, 2, 3, 4. Down in trust, same sort of thing. I have different lighting on this one. This one shows the furrows longitudinally or vertically, and this one here you can see the notching here at the tip of the R, which is pretty amazing. So the S and T in truss, you can see the multiple. It's not doubled. It's doubled of a working hub that was doubled. So then up in Liberty, it shows it. You can see that here, up in here on the B, and then the crossbar, the L, same sort of thing. In the date, the lighting is not the best here, but there's at least tripling to quadrupling here in the 1. You can see it down here in the 9. You can see it down here in the tail of the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4. The S, or the 7, you can see it 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. So you can see it almost everywhere you look. And even in Ike's hair, you see doubling at least. So that's always something I look for in to help me really distinguish a good double die versus an upline hub doubling is the degree of doubling in the hair. So we have doubling here, here, there. There's some down here as well. So you can see some doubling in the hair as well. So this one here, pulling it out and clearing off my desk prompted me to go and try to find out how it would attribute, and this crosses with Wiles or Variety Vista's double diobverse 017, which is listed as a triple diobverse, which I understand. It could be seen it that way. Wexler, it's W double diobverse 001, and Tom Calancis, IDDO 150. They're all pretty much showing the same. The one distinction is Wiles shows a mint mark, so you can get an idea of the mint mark placement, and this one matches Wiles' mint mark placement as well. So it's a nice one to have. It's not recognized as a variety by NGC or PCGS, so they won't attribute it, but Annex will. In fact, there was one PR67 that had been attributed previously by Annex of the Wiles double diobverse 017. This one here is an unattributed PCGS PR67 DCAM. So thank you for bending your mind a little bit with trying to explain Ike doubling and some of the complexities involved with Ike double dies, and then also show you this one, which is a true collectible, in my opinion, double die, which is really tripling according to Wexler or Wiles, but really, if you look at it closely, it's quadrupling. So thank you for watching. Remember, buy stuff you like, but be smart about what you buy. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching.